Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, welcome back to episode number 9. We're almost at double digits. Who would have thought we would have made it this far? Who would have thought? I'm joined by Jobo, twice unemployed, coming to visit in the show this weekend. We're gonna make some content. We got some fun things planned. But Joey, how we doing today?
Topher, we're doing fantastic out here. I mean, not a lot of people can say that they've lost 2 jobs within their first 3 months post-grad and neither being their fault. So, I'm part of an exclusive club, and for our large and growing audience out there, if anyone's hiring, please, I need a job. Please. But yeah, happy to be here, Topher.
Yeah, happy to have you as always. And we're joined once again, Quinn. The people were just begging. They were like, this kid knows ball. We got to get him back on. And Quinn, I could appreciate this. I hope you know how much I appreciate. We have you on for a very specific reason. And I told you this recently. I appreciate how deep your bag is when it comes to sports. Because I'm learning that you know, like, cycling and you know tennis. Like, it all... You never cease to amaze me, Quinn. How are you doing today?
That means a lot, first of all. I'm doing great. Any day I get to come on here and just talk ball, it's a great day. We're now under 24 hours, I think, till football comes back. So nothing to complain about. As I was waiting for you to introduce me, Dansby Swanson homered. So
nice.
We're doing pretty good.
Yeah, we'll get into some round ball talk, some small round white ball talk. But first, we should say I appreciate you, Joey, for delaying the start of the
Hang on.
podcast.
Pete Crow Armstrong just homered, like as I was speaking there. Even better.
Great day for the Cubs.
All right,
then.
continue.
But Joey,
Sorry to interrupt.
I appreciate our 15-ish minute delay because it went from Red Sox being down 4-0 to it being 3-4. So I don't want to go to sleep. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, we'll get into lots of college football. Obviously, we've got week 1. Football starting up here soon. Joey, you live in an apartment with your girlfriend. Has she immediately as it turned to September 1st, and Quinn also has a girlfriend as well. Immediately as it turned to September 1st, did they both immediately shift to trying to decorate for the fall?
No.
Oh, my apartment, my girlfriend's and our roommate's, Michael Barber, he'll be on at some point, has turned into a fall wonderland with lots of pumpkins and gnomes and assorted candy corn, and it was like as soon as the clock switched, it turned over into fall. When does summer end in your guys' mind? Summer to fall. When does that switch happen?
Personally, I mean, you could say a lot of dates. I like the first cross country meet as that kind of, and that's something that I've always had. I guess it won't be a thing forever, but that just being out there, being on the grass, feeling it, even if you're not running, just being at a meet like that and getting to just feel the energy, the race is going. That to me is the signal. It's fall, it's time. Let's go.
Us Firebirds got our first cross country. I'm sure I can't remember if we really talked about it, but. For the most part, all of us cross country and track. No, I shouldn't even say most of us. All of us are cross country that we've had on or been on. We're former or current cross country and track athletes, and we've got our first cross country meet. Maybe we'll do a little breakdown of that after we get through it. But the real Joey, go ahead.
Oh no, I was pointing to the bird up there.
Oh,
pointing the ember.
I that's a very good point. Yeah, my start of the summer ending and fall starting is football. Football's back. No, like we said, 24 hours till NFL football starts, but we have had college football games get going, and we'll get a little bit more into that. We'll talk about some of the bigger games, talk about how we feel about like certain teams coming up. But there was a question I wanted to ask because I saw this on the what's Taylor Lewan and the other guy's podcast called? Quinn, Bussin' with the Boys?
Bussin' with the Boys, yep.
Bussin' with the Boys. I heard, one of them asked, if you woke up from a coma in the year 2074, what is the first thing you are Googling? We'll go sports related. You obviously, first sports related thing you're Googling. Joey, what do you got?
How many championships has the city of Cleveland brought home while I was in a coma? It might not be a lot, it might not be any, but I want to know if me being in a coma is good for Cleveland sports.
If they won, like, how many would they have to have won for you to be like, maybe I should go back into the coma for them to keep winning?
Well, if we're thinking about it this way, the Guardians haven't won one since 1948, I believe. The Browns have never won one. Well, never won a Super Bowl. And then the Cavs, obviously 2016, but that's their only one. So not a lot of winning going on in Cleveland, but if we're talking like 6 or 7 or something total between
That's it.
You're not a Cleveland sports fan, buddy. You ain't been through the fire like me.
Years?
Ohio State might win. Will probably win that many over the next 50 years themselves. But if you're a Cleveland sports fan, you don't understand how much a singular championship means to the city. Like, I know you're not a whole Boston fan. You're a Red Sox fan. Red Sox have more championships since the year 2000 by like 3 times than Cleveland has all time. So
they've won 4 since 2004. So
yeah, and we've won 1 since 1948. So I mean, it's not. You haven't been through the struggle. You haven't been through anything. You haven't been through the trenches like a Cleveland sports fan has. But yeah, how many championships has Cleveland won?
that's a good point. Quinn, what's the first thing you're Googling if you wake up in the year 2074?
It's got to be something about Bears 4,000-yard passers. I mean, we've gone through. This is now our 3rd quarterback since I was like in high school. I just got to know if it was Caleb, if someone has done it since then, because you never know. I don't want to get ahead of myself here. We're a couple days away, but I don't want to get ahead of myself with Caleb because I've definitely gotten ahead of myself with previous quarterbacks. So I just got to know if someone's done it, if someone's thrown for 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, all that. It's almost more than even a Super Bowl. I would like to know that too, but yeah, something about Bears quarterbacks.
Yeah, me personally, I'm probably looking up how many Offensive Player of the Years / MVPs Bo Melton has won in the time. It's got to be more than 1. I mean, I'm giving him 50 years to do it. So, like, the 2,000-yard receiving years bound to come in at some point. Like, it's just waiting. It's just waiting to happen. Trying to think of anything else that would lead us into. No, all right. I think we can get into some college ovular double cone back to back talk. Joey, what game do you want to start with as the resident college football nerd that you are?
I think the most appropriate place to start is with the game that the number 1 team in my top 10 played, and that was number 1 Georgia going against Clemson. And I just want to talk about real quick how much of an embarrassment the Clemson program has become since the transfer portal era began, since like NIL started under Dabo Swinney. I'm an Ohio State fan, as people may know. As shocked as people may be, I'm an Ohio State fan, and so
yeah, big shocker.
When I was like middle school, high school, I'm thinking about the early college football playoff days. The 3 teams that are always in the playoff: Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State. And Clemson and Ohio State played numerous times, and Clemson and Alabama were like the teams that we're talking like top 2 teams in the nation every year. Clemson and Alabama, right? Ohio State maybe mixed in. People like to throw Oklahoma in there, even though they were getting destroyed every year in the playoff. But the lack of the ability of Dabo to adapt really showed off in this game, because Clemson's offense looks archaic out there. They just look like they're playing football from 20 years ago, where it's just not going to work. And this game really showed me officially that Clemson is nothing without a generational quarterback prospect. Not generational quarterback prospect, but an elite quarterback prospect. When I think generational, I'm thinking like Trevor Lawrence.
No. You're not wrong. I was saying just about. Like, you're not wrong by saying
Yeah. No, but I'm saying, like, Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson carried this program for a while. And shout out Kelly Bryant. He was fine for a little bit there. But, like, that's what carried this program is elite quarterback play. And so the fact that they're getting destroyed like they are now by Georgia just kind of shows me that they're nothing without an elite quarterback. Yeah.
Yeah. Quinn, your thoughts on the Clemson-Georgia game?
I think you kind of hit on all of it there, Joey. Dabo Swinney, you're right. Just the refusal to adapt and build with NIL. It's clearly he was able to kind of get away with it early on, but it's really starting to show. They just keep slipping out of the ranks of the top tier college football, and I think playing in the ACC doesn't help either because they're not getting very good competition. So they can have a good record, be good in the ACC, but then once they play teams like Georgia from the SEC, it just shows they're not the top tier anymore. They're not the program they once were. And and also that game I think too just speaks volumes to how good Georgia really is. I know the opponent wasn't great, but that was a top 15 team still, and they just came out there and waxed them in the second half. And you're right. They look firmly to me like the best team in the country.
Yeah, Joey, your continued thoughts about Georgia coming out of this game.
First of all, one last thing on Clemson. You know it's a problem when Carthage College men's cross country, a D3 program, is taking in more transfers than Clemson men's football. So that's the last thing I have to say about them. But yeah, Georgia looks really, really good, and I think that defense is really good. Granted, they played Clemson, which is not the best offensive team, but Georgia's defense looks really good. I think their offense is going to be really solid this year as well. In my mind, there's a clear top two teams in the nation, and that's the same with a lot of people's minds. It's Georgia and Ohio State, and Georgia beating Clemson the way they did kind of showed me that right now there's no choice but to put Georgia at number one, and that they are the team to beat right now.
The question that I had, you guys both kind of answered, but is Dabo's unwillingness to change and adapt with the times the reason for the struggles over the last few years? That what you're mainly attributing it to? All right, we're back. We told you. Unfortunately, we do have more technical issues once again, but we think we got it worked out. Where we left off, Quinn. Dabo's unwillingness to change, the reason for Clemson struggles, you feel like?
I think so, 100%. He's been pretty adamant about it in press conferences and things like that. That's not how they build their program. That they're just gonna, continue doing things the way they have, and it clearly hasn't worked. There's that joke. I don't know if you guys seen, but someone said and this is Dabo was a big, open Christian, and he says this program was built through the name, image, and likeness of Jesus Christ. And it might have worked for a while, but it's not going to anymore. And it's just time to switch things up and realize, your own kind of mortality, and that you're not going to be able to just not adapt while everybody else does.
How long is the leash? How long is the leash on? It could be how long do you give him before it's all right, if this trend continues, Clemson may need to feel like they make a change? Joey?
I think he's got a few more years for sure. Just because, first of all, he's a massive contract, but second of all, he did win national championships with Clemson. That can't be understated. Right. And he's someone who I think has been such a big proponent in building that program up and such a big factor in Clemson football becoming the brand it is today. I don't think there's a choice but to give him at least a few more years, but in the future, you never know. I mean, it depends on how bad the seasons are, really. If he's winning 3 games in the season, that leash might only be 1 year or 2 years, but if he's gonna keep winning 8 or 9 games, then I don't, or 10 games, then
Might be a little long.
he's got a little while.
Yeah, and if Georgia's as good as people like seem to think, it's you can lose this game. Like it's more like, all right, what's next, and then you try and figure it out. One thing that Clemson did do well is they let DJ Oogie Boogie walk, and they let him leave. With Florida State's recent struggles. Quinn, what do you feel like is the reason Florida State has struggled in their games against? It was Georgia Tech and then Notre Dame, right?
Boston College.
No. Boston College and Georgia Tech. That's right.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Got my people mixed up. I'm thinking of in a little bit. But go ahead. What are your reasons for FSU struggles?
Well, I think, like you said, DJ Uiagalelei he's just not the quarterback that everyone thought he was coming out of college or out of high school into college. I know he had and it seems like a mystery now that game against Notre Dame, that instant classic where both teams put up like 40 points. He looked like he was the next quarterback, like he was going to take the mantle from Trevor Lawrence. That's clearly not happening. But I think also you do have to look at their defense. They lost a lot of guys from that front that went 13-0 last year until the bowl game, and so I'm sure. And there's talent there, I know, and they're supposed to be better than they were clearly than they look so far. But just it's just inexperience, I think, and like a lack of the pedigree up front on defense that they had last year. It was pretty clear watching, like Georgia Tech was able to just run the ball down on them. Same with Boston College. They just had no strength and fight up front, and that kind of led to other problems, and they just obviously got beat both times.
Joey, your thoughts on Florida State struggles?
Yeah, well, first off, I want to give some props to Georgia Tech and Boston College. I think those two ball clubs are a lot better than people give them credit for. I know Georgia Tech's ranked now, so they're getting the credit they deserve. But I think also Boston College has Thomas Castellanos, who's a very good quarterback, and then Bill O'Brien, who, as we all know, spent like a month at Ohio State as the offensive coordinator this offseason before taking the head coaching job at Boston College. He's a very good coach, and Jeff Hathaway left the program in a good spot. So I think Boston College and Georgia Tech are good programs and good teams, but Florida State just has some serious issues. And, everyone's saying DJU is the problem. DJU stands for DJ, you need to get a job, by the way. But he's not the only issue of this team. I don't know what's going right with this team, really. I mean, obviously the defense, the front seven is not very good right now. I saw some stat during the Georgia Tech game where I think like during his first 15 pass attempts for DJU, his average air yard forward backward thing was negative 0.8. Like he was throwing backwards on average negative 0.8 yards on his first 15 throws of the season or something like that, which is absolutely absurd. I mean, they schematically have not looked good. The talent has not looked good. I don't know what's going right for them. So I think that, to be fair, Florida State the past couple of years, they had Blackman starting at quarterback, and then the fans called for Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis is a very good quarterback, then led that program to some heights that they hadn't been at in a little while. But I think Florida State's in trouble unless they have an elite quarterback, really. And DJ, you need to get a job, is not an elite quarterback.
Yeah, they need Jameis to come back. But why didn't they run the ball? I didn't watch the game. But why didn't Florida State run the ball against Boston College? Not at all. They ran the ball 8 times other than DJ Oogie Boogie. Why?
They were down 14-0 in the first or second quarter.
We don't go away from the run.
But they were trailing early, and I think that they started to panic. So that's really what the issue was there. I think they should have run. It's better than giving DJ You Need a Job the game in his hands. But, that's pretty much what happened there.
Quinn,
yeah, and I think
why didn't they run the ball?
Well, what Joey just said, and kind of in a similar but more microscopic lens, they were behind the sticks too. They couldn't run the ball with success, or they couldn't throw the ball with success, and then it's second and long, and you don't want to run there because stuck in third and still pretty long, or you'll throw there, and then it's third and long, and you're definitely not going to run. So they just couldn't get anything moving on offense. Usually you need to run the ball, but you want the run game to feed into the pass game and vice versa. And they just didn't have either, so then they abandoned the run and tried to throw their way out of it. It obviously didn't work. One thing I'll add too is it is a good thing we're talking about this today and not before the Boston College game. After they played Georgia Tech, they lost. I thought they didn't look very good, but I was ready to say, I think this team is still going to win the ACC. I think they're fine. I just think it was like one blip early on. That's clearly not true. And it's almost impossible, I think, for them to win the ACC now with 2 losses, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lose more.
Yeah, I mean, with the expanded playoff now, we probably at some point see a 12-win or a 2-loss team get in
This year,
right?
yeah.
Like it's this year it probably happens, especially. It'll just happen at some point. But we don't feel like there's a chance that's Florida State.
Yeah, I think that team has to come from the Big Ten or SEC, or
If it's a
very
2-loss
unlikely.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Did that guy ever eat the dog poop? Wasn't there some guy that said he eat dog crap? Does anyone know if he did it?
He went completely offline on social media, like deleted everything.
Right.
And then I don't know if y'all know who Jack Mac Barstool is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like tracked it down so much that he like had his wife's social media pages and everything like that, and then he was able to get in contact with them. I don't know exactly. I haven't updated it today or anything like that, but like last I saw, I don't think he's gonna eat the.
He hadn't eaten the dog poop yet.
But I don't think that's happened.
You gotta be man of your word. Eat the damn dog crap. Come on, grow up a little bit. Play stupid games. Win stupid prize. That's a horrible fantasy punishment.
That's
lose. So bad. Quinn, what college football game are you inclined to talk about?
I'll go with the Sunday night one, USC LSU. I think there were kind of a lot of overreactions, namely from Brian Kelly about that, and it kind of stems from LSU having trouble in all 3 of his years there in week 1. But I think both of these teams actually looked very good. I was kind of impressed with both of them. I know somebody obviously had to lose, and I don't think either is going to win their conference. But I think I was very impressed. Both have new defensive coordinators, which they badly needed. Both defenses actually looked pretty good up front. And then I was very impressed with both quarterbacks in this game. In the loss, Garrett Nussmeier he was 29 for 38, 304 yards. I think he had 1 touchdown, or I think 2 touchdowns and an interception. I thought he got the ball out really quick. He had that one first touchdown was just very good touch, good accuracy, good placement on the ball. And then Miller Moss, 27 for 36, 378 yards and a touchdown. I thought he was really good. He used the middle of the field really well. He was just really accurate. And I thought both these teams look better than maybe what we thought they were. I think they'll be maybe not playoff locks because they play in tough conferences, but they should be making noise and making pushes to get in the playoff.
Joey, your takeaway from the Trojans Tigers?
I mean, I think LSU and USC are 2 very similar programs last season, where they were both good offensively but horrible defensively. And like Quinn was saying, I think that they both shored some stuff up on that end. However, I think that I'm not really high on LSU at this point. I think LSU has some holes that are a little bit more glaring to me. I'm not sold on Nussmeier quite as much as some people are. I think he's a decent quarterback, but I don't think where LSU is and the talent level all around there that Nussmeier is going to be anything close to what Jaden Daniels was to be able to carry them to what Jaden Daniels could. And USC looked very good, but like I said, I don't know how good LSU really is. I mean, USC defensively looks much better. Bear Alexander and that front 7 looked much, much better than they have. But and I think Miller Moss is a good quarterback too, but we'll have to see once they get into Big Ten play and play some more competitive teams like a Rutgers, I think they play Notre Dame as well. They play Notre Dame as well this year. I think it's a rivalry game, but we'll see once they play some higher level teams what really kind of happens. But I think USC definitely is better than people thought. They came in 23rd ranked. I have them just outside my top 10 right now. And then LSU came in 13th. I have them in the 20s right now, but like I think that they're both decent teams, and I think that they're both moving in the right direction. I just think LSU doesn't have that Heisman level talent like they did last year.
What did you guys think of Brian Kelly's temper tantrum after the game? Joey?
I mean, Brian Kelly's the least likable guy in football, right? I mean, he is. I don't know a single person who said anything positive about Brian Kelly in the past many years, ever since he left Notre Dame. Basically, I haven't heard any positive words about him. He wants to blame everyone but himself. He is just a little bit of a diva. I mean, at least he's not faking that Southern accent as bad anymore or anything like that. But yeah, Brian Kelly, man, he's so unlikable, and it makes LSU hard to root for. Like they were easy to root for when they had Coach O. They're so hard to root for now with Brian Kelly.
Go Tigers. Quinn, you and I talked a little bit already about on Monday about the fit he threw, but what did you think of it?
I think a lot of things Joey said were true. A lot of it too. I think he had said something about Nussmeier not being the best quarterback in the game, which, to what I said earlier, I don't think that's really that much of a slight. I thought he was still really good. Sure, you can say your players needed to play better, and I think he did say something about himself coaching, but I think all that, it was just, I think he was just incredibly frustrated with this whole opening weekend thing. And it's not really the worst thing. They're playing good teams opening weekend, but losing to Florida State the past 2 years and then USC a couple days ago, I think that just kind of bled over into him losing it, in his press conference. I think, too, I forget who said it. I wish I could give credit. But to what Joey was saying, like, he's one of the least cool coaches coaching one of the most cool programs. Like, when you think about Coach O and everybody loved him, and Joe Burrow just was a cool guy, the gritty came from LSU, all that stuff, like, it's just a fun program, and he's just not a very fun coach. And it's just kind of a buzzkill seeing him act like that.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing that you and I talked about with is it's college kids. Don't blame them. Like we talked about the whole rant that what's his face? Now I can't even remember his name.
Mike Gundy.
Mike Gundy. Yeah, that we talked about. It was like don't throw the kid under the bus. Like just you threw a pick at the end of the game when you guys were already like down. Like that's like who cares? Like you don't trash the kid. How old is Garrett Nussmeier? Like 20?
I think he's a junior, so maybe 21.
So maybe 21.
He is. Oh, he's 22, but still.
Oh, okay. But still, you don't trash the kid. He's
yeah.
not getting. I mean, they are kind of is getting paid to do it now.
Yeah.
But don't trash the kid. Like still
a kid.
Like it's still inexcusable. It's still a kid. Like don't trash him. You'd rather have your quarterback playing confident, not feeling like you don't believe in him heading into whatever future games. Anyway, I was about to lose my mind because I just watched Connor Wong swing at two cutters that were about 3 feet outside of the left-handed hitter's batting box. And I was about to lose my freaking mind there a second ago. The last game that we kind of especially wanted to highlight was Texas A&M and Notre Dame. I'll go through my thoughts really quickly. Connor Wiener or whatever his name is, not very good. Texas A&M. And Riley Leonard runs the ball a lot. What are your guys' thoughts on Notre Dame, Texas A&M?
Pretty similar, honestly. When they came out, whoever, I think it was Chris Fowler was announcing and said, "Oh, this guy Weigman, he's going to be a first-round pick." Everybody thought he was great last year until he got hurt. And I just watching the game, I just didn't see that. And
Wiener? They said that about Wiener?
Yeah, they did. Wiener. And then I agree too. Riley Leonard he would run a lot. I think his receivers actually made some great plays, and obviously he was good enough to win. But he does run the ball a lot. And then the one thing I'll add too, Notre Dame defense looks pretty good. So I think they're a solid team. I know, like we said, we're kind of trashing the quarterback, but I think that's a good team too. And then they have an independent schedule too, so they'll probably make their way into the playoff. Just based on that, I think their toughest opponent is probably USC, but and then they play
They
Florida
still
State
play.
too, maybe.
Yeah, they play Florida State. They play Louisville. They've got Georgia Tech. We're both
Yeah,
both
because
both
it's
top
basically
25
an
teams.
ACC schedule.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, essentially. Joey, your thoughts on the Aggies versus the Fighting Irish?
Well, I mean, building off the whole Riley Leonard running a lot thing, I think he actually impressed me with his passing game here because I thought he was even more of a running game merchant coming out of Duke than he was in this game. Because I mean, when he was transferring, I was like, he's a good quarterback, but he doesn't fit a system that's pass heavy because I just feel like he doesn't have that ability to really just like sit in the pocket and pass like that. So I mean, I'm glad that they got it done. I'm glad he looked as good as he did there. Connor Wegman, not anything special like people hyped him up to be, but I think Texas A&M looks a lot more disciplined and a lot better under Mike Elko than they did under Jimbo Fisher. I think he's kind of steadied the ship a little bit more than the crazy like free for all that it was under Jimbo.
Sure. Quinn, you look like you're cooking something up over there.
Well, one thing I was gonna look for the one, like I was talking about the receivers making plays. I was gonna look for that one catch that Bo Williams made for Notre Dame on the sideline because it was just really awesome. But
Yeah.
I gotta pull it up. The one thing I'll say too is thinking about what we just said about Brian Kelly. It's funny because he left there, but I've never really been a fan of Notre Dame. I don't really like them. I do like Marcus Freeman. I think it's almost the opposite. I think he's really cool. He was jawing at the crowd before the game. He was pumping his players up, and he just has kind of a swagger about him that I really like. So shout out Marcus Freeman. He's a cool dude.
I've always thought about him fondly. He said something, his first like quote after he took over the team, because he took over as head coach before the bowl game that year. And I can't remember the exact quote.
Right.
I'm not going to look for it, but he said something then that I was like, oh, I kind of like this guy. Like I like this guy. But yeah, I mean, Notre Dame number 5. Do we think they could be someone sneaking into the playoffs come December, January?
100%.
Yeah, they should be in the playoff.
Okay, nice. Did you guys have any other final thoughts on the week? This was week 1, right? Last week was week 0. This was week 1 of college football. Did you guys have any final thoughts on college football week 1 games? Joey?
Yeah, the Florida program is an embarrassment right now, having Miami players go up and dap up the recruits Florida brought after the game to get them to come to Miami was really funny. And University of Michigan looks like Iowa has the past few years. So, yeah.
Quinn?
Yeah, I'm curious to see. With Michigan and Oregon, both struggled like more than they should have. So I'm curious. Obviously, Ohio State's up there, but I'm curious how the top of that Big Ten will do. Penn State looked good, but I think it'll be interesting to see how many teams get in. Because I think you'll have the 4 conference champions, which will probably be Georgia, Ohio State, and then right now I have Miami in the ACC. I think even though they played a bad opponent, they looked good. Maybe K-State, and then obviously there'll be Notre Dame, a group of 5 team, but I think then it's just Big Ten, SEC, who can survive the best for those other 6 spots.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see who basically it's just kind of survival of the fittest there because a lot of those teams are going to take each other out. So it's exciting.
Yeah,
I do like that. I think it's kind of annoying that the playoffs a little bit watered down with 12 teams, but I think it'll be exciting to see how much some of these games matter now that the conferences are so good and the teams are going to play each other. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Colorado playing in that national championship game. Who are your guys' college football champion predictions? We don't have to go super in depth into this, however in depth we want to go. But who do you guys? The Red Sox just grounded into like the 4th fucking double play of this game. Are they going to keep doing that to end innings? Every fucking time. I'm sorry.
It's going to be okay.
I'm sorry, Mama. I'm sorry, Dad. I used my potty language there. Excuse my language. Joey, your prediction as the college football champion this year.
I'm going with the Buckeyes. I know it's a homer pick, but I think that they are so much improved offensively this year, and defensively they're still as good as they were last year, that they finally have a good offense and good defense to go together instead of just one or the other like they have the past few years. I think this is the year they get it done.
Quinn?
I think it's got to be Georgia. As much as I want it to be a Big Ten school, and I dislike the SEC, Georgia, they just look like the standard of the country. Last year, I know that, I mean, playing Alabama, kind of having that one loss hurt them. Like, I think they still maybe would have won the national championship if they got in. This year, they even have a buffer where they could lose and still get in. So I think it's going to be them.
Yeah, you guys are going with some awfully chalk picks over there. I'm going Ole Miss. Jackson Dart. That one tight end whose wife uploads all of the TikToks. I'm all in. My cousin Brady, he went to Ole Miss. Brady, I have no clue if you watch these, but shout out to you. Shout out Hottie Toddy. Isn't that it?
It
There you
is.
go. There you go. You got
Lane
it.
Train.
I got it right. They're gonna play in the real game. Ole Miss Mississippi State.
The Egg Bowl.
The real game. My older brother is a Michigan fan, and last year, it was Ole Miss Mississippi State like the day before Ohio State Michigan, and I just kept going like, oh, we're watching the game, and I was referring to Ole Miss Mississippi State the entire time because that's how my cousin, once again, cousin Brady, if you're listening to this, that's how it was being referred to. At that point, we're ready for a little white ball talk.
Yeah, one thing. If you go to ESPN College Football's highlight tape, Notre Dame versus Texas A&M, at about the 13-28, 13-30 mark, Bo Collins, he made a sick catch with the game kind of on the line, and just getting shoved out, reached up, made a contested catch, somehow got his foot down as he was getting pushed out aggressively. I was very impressed. So shout out Bo Collins.
Want to know who didn't just make a sick catch?
I'd love to.
Tristan Casas, as he watched the ball roll right under his glove. It's okay. They threw the guy out at second, but rolled right under his glove. I'm doing great over here, if you guys can't tell. I'm doing wonderful. And now we get to talk about some MLB Playoff Picture. And I got some thoughts. Let me tell you, I got some thoughts. Are there any division races that we're particularly interested in as we head in with 23 to 25 games left in the season, Joey, for baseball? Anything you're particularly looking at?
The only one that stood out to me in the slightest coming into today was the AL Central, I believe it is, with the Guardians, the Royals, the Twins. But the Guardians are 5 games up now, so I don't really think there's much to talk about there. I'm pretty sure that they're gonna take care of business like they should have earlier this year. So I'll leave it to talk to the baseball experts now.
Quinn, what do you got for me?
Topher. I mean, yeah, division races seem to be wrapped up besides the AL East, which I actually do think is interesting and merits watching just because of the way that the Yankees have struggled for quite some time now. They looked like one of the class of the AL and kind of evolved MLB for a while. So it's interesting to see there if they're going to make the playoffs no matter what, but they don't want to limp there and just take a wild card, especially because it's the Yankees and their fans are kind of to a point where it's very annoying. They're very demanding of what their team does. So I'm interested to see there what happens. The Twins and Royals don't play the White Sox anymore, so maybe,
Thank goodness.
just maybe, teams can make their way from outside in, but we'll see. And then again, I got to talk about the Cubs. I think they just got hot. They've been hot. I think it's too little, too late. If they win tonight, which they're fingers crossed going to, they're up, I think 9-0. They'd have to, if they win these next 2 series, they play the Yankees and Dodgers. Then maybe I'll believe. Also have to monitor with the Braves too because they're playing the Rockies right now, but it looks bleak. They were rolling, but you can't lose 2 games in a row to the Pirates. I know they had good guys going, but Cubs blew one in the 8th, and then last night was tough. You can drop one to Paul Skeens, but it's frustrating.
I think I think at this point in the year, any further than 4.5 back, and it's done. Like it can happen, but like as
Right.
a Red Sox fan, I don't know how you feel as a Cubs fan, but 4.5 back is kind of my line where I'll still look at the game, like I'll still check to see the score, but I'm not checking all the other games of people in front whoever's in front of them. I'm not looking to see what their scores are routinely.
Yeah, I'd
So
agree. I kind of was over the weekend. I mean, the Phillies and Braves were the ESPN Sunday night games. So since they were primetime standalone, obviously, like I watched that. I had that going with the USC LSU, but it's really, yeah. I'll watch the Cubs, and I'll hear about it probably naturally just through scrolling through Twitter or whatever. And if something
mhm,
crazy happens, I'll be all the way in again. But
mhm.
I'm not letting my happiness live and die on what happens with the Cubs. It's kind of already been written.
It was 3.5 at that point, so I think it's fair to still be like paying attention to it. I think 3.5 is close enough. I mean, I know they don't play each other, and that makes it kind of a little more difficult to make up the games as easily. But 3.5 back, I think, is more than. And now it's 4.5. I don't. Hopefully, the Red
Right.
Sox beat the Mets tonight, and I have no clue what the Braves um, score is looking like.
They're winning.
Are you? They're winning, the
Yeah.
Braves. Okay.
Right.
Are you at all worried about the Yankees with Aaron Judge's recent struggles after being on the Paw Patrol episodes? He's not homered since,
I know. I saw that today that his last homer was on Paw Patrol.
and he has like two
I don't know
RBIs
about
since.
mm, I don't know about worried. I think it merits watching, especially because of the way he played in the postseason after the 60 homer season or 61, 62, 61, 62,
62.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so like that kind of merits watching, especially because they need him going. That's kind of been the criticism of the Yankees all year is it's Soto, Judge, and the other guys. So I think it definitely merits watching. You want him to be hot coming into the playoffs, but uh, we'll see. I think he'll be fine by and large. I know maybe the Paw Patrol thing is real, but we'll see.
The curse of the Paw Patrol. Could you imagine
Yeah, no
in
one
the
would ever
year
want to go on Paw Patrol again.
in the it'll turn into what was it? Wasn't there the Jimmy Fallon show curse going around for a minute there? Wasn't that a
I
thing?
did not know that, but maybe.
There was something with Jimmy Fallon. I could be making that up, but I think there was um, something going on. I can't wait to see the Yankees lose in October though, and watch as they crumble as
Yeah.
as Soto leaves to join obviously either the Chicago Cubs or the Boston Red Sox,
Yep.
because both teams are for sure going to pay that price tag.
Absolutely.
AL wild card. Um, Red Sox have played themselves out of it. My Twitter is full of sad, me being upset. Um, they're just dead in the water at this point. Like, shut it. I any further than 4.5, I'm out. They're down 4-3 right now. The Royals have lost 7 straight games, and they have not gained. They've gained I think 1 game on them over that time.
Oh wow.
They've lost 7 straight. And like there's 4.5 back of that team. If you played 500, they are like if they played 500 since the All-Star break, this team is like squarely in the playoff picture. Instead,
Yeah.
they forgot their bullpen forgot how to pitch for a while there, and then, well, you know the hitters were swinging with tennis rackets up there, and then and then they they started swinging with number 2 pencils for the last week and forgot how to do
Mhm.
that. Like, what are we doing? But I'm interested to see how the rest of these races. I think the Royals are entertaining. The NL wild card. We mentioned the Cubs, but I think all of the teams in front of them are relatively interesting. Like I like the Padres. I like the Diamondbacks. Um,
Yeah.
all of those as those heat up. I think some of those teams can do something special in
Right.
October. Joey, do either of you have any other final thoughts on playoff picture as we head in on September 4th with 3+ weeks to go in the season?
Not on that, but I will say 2 days from now, or 2 days at least from when we're recording, I will get to see Anthony Rizzo taking at bat at Wrigley Field. I think they just activated him, so that return will be special because he hasn't played. He hasn't been back since they traded him in 2021.
So actually, cool.
Yeah,
because last year was when they started doing the both ways thing,
right.
where you play every team each year, and he obviously, gosh darn it, and they obviously they didn't come here last year if they're coming here this year. So that'll be good. He'll get a standing O, right?
100%. Yeah, I mean they'll give him a tribute. He's gonna get the biggest one, I bet, out of the three. Maybe not because it's been so long. Because Bryant got it in September after he was traded in July or whatever. But
yeah,
I think he's the most loved. He just because he was there when we were bad and went through so much, and just kind of the whole he being a cancer survivor and being an advocate for kids with cancer. And he's just one of the most likable, I would say. So he'll definitely get maybe the warmest reception.
Maybe the warmest. Joey and I were interacting with a couple of former listeners or former guests on the podcast about the 2016 NBA Finals and World Series. Which 3-1 comeback do you feel like is more impressive, the Cavs or the Cubs, Quinn? Because I know Joey's and I know mine.
I think it has to be the Cavs, especially because,
right?
I mean, so they're playing the Warriors, who at that time were considered maybe the best team ever. They had the best regular season record, and it had happened before in baseball, too, with the 3-1 comeback. And I think just kind of with the variability and randomness of MLB baseball and baseball in general, it's just kind of more likely that would happen. It's still very impressive, and it's still, maybe you could say that it meant more because it was a longer drought and all that, but yeah, to play against that team and the way, I think I said it when we were talking about it in practice, the 41-41 from LeBron and Kyrie, and then LeBron leading in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals. It's just unbelievable, really.
Yeah, it was. I remember sitting there watching that game. Joey, I'm sure both of you watching that Game 7, but being like, dang, Iman Shumpert cannot hit a single three. And I can't believe that this is where this game is going. But I remember the Cubs equally. It's comparing. I don't even know. It's apples and oranges, really. Two crazy impressive. It's honestly more impressive that both happened in the same calendar year. That we got two of the all-time classics for championship series. I can't even think of one that, off the top of my head, I can't think of a single. Those might be the two biggest. Championship series. Take NFL, because those are just games.
Right.
Didn't the Blackhawks kind of have a crazy one at one point? Were they a 3-1 comeback too?
No. They went down, I don't remember 2010.
It was 3-2.
No, it was 2-1. They won all of them in 6. All 3.
Okay.
So they went down early. I think they in 13 and 15 both, they won game 1. And then lost 2 games, and then just rattled off 3 straight. Okay. But I don't think they didn't come down.
They never had a bigger comeback than that. I was just trying to remember my memory of it. We talked about round of applauses. This is where we're going to get into Topher's random thoughts, by the way, because I've had quite a few.
All right.
I'm going to start off with a story. Joey.
All right.
I'm standing here. Quinn, you know where I'm going with this. I'm standing here with my dear friend Quinn. I look down at what shorts he's wearing. He's wearing Boston Celtics number 8 shorts. Who can you remember that wore number 8 for the Boston Celtics?
Number 8. That wasn't Rondo.
No, Rondo was 9.
What? Give me a year. Give me a year.
I can't remember years, but
I'm gonna look it up, kind of. This is not. I was looking for a basketball.
I got it pulled up. He's 37 now.
2010s.
Yeah, 2010s.
2010s. He's 30. He's 37 now. Is it Gallinari?
No. He had 2.5 years with Boston, from halfway through 2014-15 through the 2017 season.
He most recently played with the Golden State Warriors in 2018-19.
Okay. Boston 2014-15, played with the Warriors. I don't know why I'm thinking David West. It's not. Not Mo Spates.
Was drafted in the second round by the Detroit Pistons.
Gerald Green. Wow. This is.
It's
Celtics
Jonas
number 8.
Jerebko. Jonas Jerebko. On a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a poll was that? I was sitting there for like 5-10 minutes, not thinking of anything but who in the world was I thinking of that wore number 8 for the Boston Celtics, and it was Jonas Jerebko.
I gotta
I
say,
was very proud of that one.
that you should be very proud of that. I'm not great with jersey numbers. I can't name 99.9% of people's jersey numbers. Like NFL quarterbacks, I couldn't name a single one right now, to be honest, because that's just not what I pay attention to. But yeah, Jonas Jerebko. Wow, shout out Jonas Jerebko. But yeah,
Yeah. Felt like that. I was pretty impressed with myself on that one. We were talking about standing ovations just a second ago. Yeah, go ahead, Joey.
sorry, real quick, Quinn, where the heck did you get Jonas Jerebko?
So,
Boston
okay.
Celtics shorts.
They're not. They're Kemba Walker shorts, and I got them from Ross. Because if you go to Ross, there'll be all kinds of random player like a fake jersey or whatever. So it was around the time Kemba Walker was there. So that's technically what they're supposed to be. Celtics number 8. They're gray with light gray pinstripes. They're not really the team shorts or anything. But so I have those. They're probably $6, and I was like, $6 for these Celtics shorts, I'll get them. So I have those. I have a pair of Luka Doncic Mavericks ones, because I bet he's got one where 77.
Those are cool.
But yeah, so that's the story behind the Jonas Jerebko shorts.
I was really proud of that. I was sitting there for quite some time trying to remember that. Well, I know who didn't get enough, who I'm very disappointed we didn't get their peak out of, and might be one of the 5 players I wish we got more of a peak out of. It's DeMarcus Cousins. We were grossly robbed. Joey, what do you mean? He averaged 27 his last year he's 34. We should still be watching DeMarcus Cousins balling. He averaged 27 with the Kings that last year. In 2017-2018, he averaged 25 and 12 with the New Orleans Pelicans. We should be talking about a Hall of Famer at this point. What?
Okay.
Joey.
No, just hear me out. Just hear me out. So, I'm going to start with this. Back in the day, the first team I was a huge fan, I was always a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, right? Because I'm a Cleveland sports fan. But the team that got me into basketball was the New Orleans Hornets with Chris Paul, right? And so the New Orleans Hornets, I was a huge fan of, alongside the Cavs. It was pretty even there for a while. Even when they first transitioned into the Pelicans, so the Anthony Davis days. I remember when DeMarcus Cousins got traded to Anthony Davis. If you go look at my old iPhone 5C, DeMarcus Cousins Pelicans jersey is still the background of it. So trust me, I get the DeMarcus Cousins hype, but DeMarcus Cousins is nothing more than a stat padder and a good player on a bad team. He does not contribute to winning basketball. He'll lose you more games than he'll win.
This doesn't fit my narrative, so you're going in timeout for a minute. Quinn, your thoughts on DeMarcus Cousins?
I kind of lean towards your side. I think he had a window there where he was the best center in the NBA. I don't think that gets talked about a whole ton.
No.
And there was really no competition for a little bit there from maybe 2015 to 2017. It wasn't super long, But I was just looking now, and he even like developed a 3-point shot in there by his last year in New Orleans, and then obviously the injuries there kind of derailed it because he was only 27 at that point, 6 straight All-Stars. I think he was kind of the only really good center in that era, and then after that now we have all these guys, Jokic and Embiid at the top. But I think you're right. He
would
gets
have
the shot
dominated today. With how like today's game is run, with like some of these bigs and teams being constructed around bigs, he would have averaged like 30 plus.
Yeah, you might be right.
What do you mean?
DeMarcus Cousins is good, don't get me wrong. But DeMarcus Cousins could have averaged 30 plus nowadays on a 30-win team, yes.
No,
DeMarcus Cousins is never...
Because he was stuck on the Sacramento Kings who, until like 2 years ago, I think finally gained consciousness. Let me pull up some of these Sacramento Kings teams. 2015-16. Let's pull up this roster. Where are the stats? All right, he played with Rondo here too. That's kind of funny. Rudy Gay and Darren Collison were the next 2 best players on that team.
I don't want to hear any Rudy Gay slander right now.
Oh my
Rudy
God!
Gay was
As
a
number
bucket.
2 option.
He was a bucket.
Yeah, he was a role player.
He was a
role player. Great. Number 2. All right, Marco Bellinelli was still playing games for this team.
I consider
in the Lord's year of 2015, 2016.
Okay, Marco Bellinelli was like 26 that year. Like, why are we talking like Marco Bellinelli was...
He was 29.
Okay, so he's in his prime. Perfect.
And these are who he's being surrounded with.
Okay, I'm not trying to say his teams were good. I'm trying to say DeMarcus Cousins he's not reliable enough to be the first option on a truly winning team. And
because he never got the opportunity to do it.
Because he averaged like 4 fouls a game every game. Because DeMarcus Cousins was always throwing a little hissy fit in the game, and he just jacked up a bunch of shots. If you piss DeMarcus Cousins off in the first quarter, if the ref calls some bad call on him, DeMarcus Cousins is going to sit there and mope and moan and whine the rest of the game. DeMarcus Cousins is going to hack and foul everybody. DeMarcus Cousins is a good player, don't get me wrong. DeMarcus Cousins deserves his All-Star games, but talking about him like he's top 5 for like what ifs, like peaks that we missed out on is absurd. If you want to talk about peaks we missed out on, let's talk about Isaiah Thomas. Let's talk about Derrick Rose. Let's talk about Brandon Roy. Let's talk about Greg Oden. If you want to talk about peaks
and let's talk about DeMarcus Cousins. You're right. There's 5.
I knew I shouldn't have left you a 5th. I knew I shouldn't have left you a 5th there.
You shouldn't have, because you knew I was about to eat that shit up. You left me too much of a gap.
He's a good player. I just don't think I don't think we missed out on anything crazy from him. I think he is what we saw he is. I don't think he was going to ever improve from what he was.
You're telling me if we didn't get to see a fully healthy Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins that they're not making noise?
Like I said, nobody was more hyped about the Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins than a little 15-year-old Joey. Joey was so hyped about that.
The same Anthony Davis that was averaging 28, 12, and 2. You're telling me those two? With
they're not getting through like the Golden States.
They could have with how much size they had. Probably not.
Right, probably not.
But they could have.
DeMarcus Cousins, I think he would, be a Hall of Famer. He would have put together more All-Star years, All-NBA years. But I don't know that pairing was going to... Because there wasn't a ton around then. Drew was nice, I guess.
Drew Holiday! Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, I can agree with Drew Holiday. That team would have been really nice. I think DeMarcus Cousins is closer to a Rasheed Wallace than he is to like a Hall of Fame player that we're talking about.
You're done. Joey's done. You're going in the box. You're staying in the box, kid. You're staying.
Wait, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I know Quinn's definitely seen this. Let's be real. But Around the Horn on ESPN, where they have the host and everyone's like in the boxes and they get like the little points up or points down and get muted and stuff. Man, we would
Yeah.
kill on a show like that. That'd be must see TV. Hey,
That would be so much fun.
get us to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and we'll make our own Around the Horn.
That actually does leads into kind of my next point. How in the world do you get big on Twitter? I had such a good 24 hours on Twitter the other day. It was banger after banger after banger, and I'm getting like 2 likes. How in the world do you grow on Twitter? And why is the Hawk Tua girls getting a podcast now too?
I think you either need like a gimmick, like a repeated kind of joke that people will like continuously come back for, and you kind of have to get lucky with that, or you need to already have something that's getting you big, something like that. Like if you're like a bar stool, like you know somebody or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And
I used to have an NBA Twitter account, and yeah, no one liked my stuff. I had amazing content, but no one cared. So I don't know.
Joey?
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, as someone who also had numerous sports social media pages of varying levels of success, Twitter is something I can never crack down. But I think you just need like a gimmick, like Quinn said, or you just need like a reliable, like you need a group of people to constantly be liking and retweeting your stuff and getting it out there to their audiences before anything happens. Because if the only people seeing Topher's tweets are me, Quinn, Peyton, Twitter go Campbell Heiser, and Craig and his mom, like you're never gonna blow up.
Emily sees him too.
Yeah, but like if that's the only grouping of people that's gonna see them, you're never gonna go anywhere with Twitter.
But they're just so good. Like it's bound to get somewhere eventually.
I do have a couple friends who have grown on Twitter, but the means they took to grow on Twitter aren't something you want to associate with your personal account or personal brand, if you catch my drift. And one of them also got visited by like the FBI or CIA or whatever it is too, and I'm not kidding. Like that's dead serious. So, like I said, I don't know if you want. If you want, Twitter's a dangerous place to be blowing up on.
Maybe I need.
Yeah, because there's definitely times where I'll be like, oh, like, well, I'll have an opinion, and then I'll be like, yeah, I'm not gonna say that because my family members and coaches or whatever follow me, and if potential employers look at, you know, like if you're saying some crazy things, you don't want that, and crazy things are kind of what gets you notoriety, I think, too, just getting attention. So I don't know.
All publicity is not good publicity, kids. Remember that.
Maybe I need to pay for the blue check though. Maybe it's time.
Can you pay for it on the Boyos account and just tweet from there, please?
Nah, I gotta keep my own personal brand clean. You know, my hot takes might get me in trouble one of these days. Talking about McDonald's pumpkin coffee. You want to know what I did think would get us to blow up though? My tweet about Young Gravy signing with the Cardinals for a day. I thought that was a banger. I said, imagine if they had to clear up a roster spot for him. He signed like a 1-day contract with the St. Louis Cardinals. But imagine if they had to like clear up a roster spot for that. Like imagine being the guy that gets like called into the office like, hey, sorry, we gotta send you back down to AAA. Young Gravy's coming on to throw out the first pitch today. What else I thought would have gotten me moderately famous at this point, I'm not expecting to get big, just like moderate, is me and Tom Brady being the same. Not enough's getting said about that. Me and Tom both think rookie quarterbacks shouldn't start week 1. We both think that. And guess what? I went through current like starting quarterbacks, and of like the top, let me pull up my list of who I had as my top like 10 starting quarterbacks. Only like 2 of them started week 1 their rookie year. And one of them was Dak Prescott, and he was not supposed to start week 1 his rookie year. He only was starting because Tony Romo got hurt. I'm not saying, I'm just saying. Me and Tom are on the same page. Like, let me see. Mahomes didn't start week 1. Allen didn't start week 1. Stroud did. Burrow did, so that's 2. Lamar didn't. Dak did. Herbert didn't. Love didn't. Hurts didn't. Purdy didn't. That's 3.
That's a good point. I think
There might not.
a couple of those guys, though, weren't guys that were, like, on the radar to be starting. Like, people didn't expect Hurts to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. People obviously didn't expect Purdy to be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
And it worked out for him that he didn't start week 1.
Also, those guys had clearly better options in front of them, though, too.
Herbert didn't. I mean, I love Tyrod Taylor, but
Well,
I don't even know.
Taylor also
Was
got
Tyrod Taylor
used-
ahead of Josh Allen, too?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Tyrod Taylor got used and abused by the Chargers training staff, and that's why Herbert started so soon. I'm pretty sure, but
right.
Yeah.
Was it really Tyrod? Because I thought
it was
Who
Tyrod
was ahead
Taylor
of
in
Josh?
Buffalo. It was Tyrod. It was Tyrod Taylor.
No, that's right.
And Tyrod Taylor was also before Baker in Cleveland too.
Before Baker.
Yeah, the previous year they benched Tyrod though, right? For
EJ Manuel.
EJ Manuel.
No, for Nathan Peterman and 5 interceptions because they were like in the playoff race. He was playing good. He had them in the playoff race, and then they benched him for Nathan Peterman, like just cause, and then lost whatever, like 56 to something to the Chargers because he threw 5 interceptions, and then they went back with Tyrod, and then I think they still made the playoffs. Yeah, they made the playoffs and lost to the Jaguars in the wild card. But everyone was talking about how funny it would have been if they benched Tyrod Taylor and then missed the playoffs by 1 game because they wanted to play Nathan Peterman. Yeah, the score was 54-24 Chargers in that game.
Okay.
Poor Tyrod Taylor, man.
But poor Tyrod. Yeah, that's a good point. He should have. He did get a fair shot, but he kind of got failed a couple because he got hurt with the Browns before Baker took over, right? And then he obviously he had the punctured lung with the Chargers, and then he obviously lost his job there to Herbert. But I mean, I'm not saying that not starting week 1 is the cause for some of these guys' success, because some of them obviously did, and it worked out just fine. But makes you go, huh? Mm-hmm. Just like, little interesting. Yeah. Jamar Chase, no longer random thoughts. We're off that. We can move on. Jamar Chase is trending towards playing. Before today, he was trending towards not playing, and then today he was limited in practice. I know we talked about the Jamar Chase saga at one other point, but Quinn, what are your current day thoughts on September 4th, 3-4 days before they're supposed to play week 1?
I understand where he's coming from, just in general, from you're a really good receiver and you want to get paid as soon as possible, just because he could get injured or something could happen this year. But I just don't totally get it. I think this is the first time I've ever seen a receiver holding out after their 3rd year, or when they have 2 contract years left. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think when you have 2 contract years left, like, you can wait. If he goes out and puts out a really, really good this year, like, even if it's like top 5, I think he'll get paid like he's the best receiver in the NFL. Maybe even higher than he would if he got paid this offseason. So I think it's worth it for him to wait out a year. He'll have Joe Burrow back. I just don't fully understand it. I guess I understand the logic, but to me it's just kind of bizarre. Even like Justin Jefferson waited and bet on himself, and he got hurt, and it still worked out very well for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if something similar happens to Jamar Chase if he were to just play this year on his current contract.
Joey, your
I think the issue with the Jamar Chase contract right now is that I don't know if they can, like Mike Brown, the owner of the Bengals, I don't think he can afford to pay them, because it's not like Mike Brown. I mean, he's well off. He's doing well. He's pretty rich. Don't get me wrong, but like, he's only has wealth because he owns the Bengals, not because he's a rich person by merit. Like his fortune is built by owning the Bengals, because his dad was Paul Brown. So, like, he doesn't have the millions of dollars he'd have to pay just sitting around. You know what I mean? Like paying Jamar Chase like that is going to be tough, and I think that Jamar Chase is he asking for like one penny more than Justin Jefferson? I think that's the case. Like he should I think he should play it out, be the team guy, and then next year get that contract, get that bag.
Yeah, he did. He did ask for one more penny than what Justin Jefferson got. That's actually surprising on the Mike Brown front. He is technically, based on this article, he has the lowest net worth of all the NFL owners, not the Green Bay Packers, obviously, because that's a completely different
Right.
kind of situation. But he is the lowest, which I thought is kind of interesting. But that is as of 2015.
I saw something saying the same thing as of like 2023 the other day, because I was hearing about this and doing my research on this. So he's still the lowest net worth.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we think that when do we think that contract gets done? And do we think Jamar Chase plays week 1?
At this point, I don't think he plays week 1. I mean, he was limited in practice, and the clock is really ticking. I think he's pretty hell-bent on this on this situation. And even if he were to say, I don't care about my contract, I want to play, like he would have 2 days, he would have today and then 2 more days of practice if he's a full participant this week. Like, I don't think it's going to happen in week 1. I don't know. I don't really see the contract getting resolved anytime soon, though, so someone's got to give, I guess.
Joey?
Yeah, I don't see him playing week 1 at this point either.
Can you guys think of a time where holding out like this has worked? Like, no, sure, they might get paid, but have they still lived up to that contract then? When they held out into the season, I mean, at least.
Chris Jones last year, maybe.
But he didn't miss any time, did he?
He missed the first game.
I think, yeah, he did.
Oh, that's right, he did.
I can't. I mean, the big one is obviously Lev Bell, and that didn't work out.
Even Deshaun sat out a year.
Right.
Watson.
I'm trying to think. I feel like there's someone that I'm missing, but it's not coming to mind.
I know it didn't work out.
Or
You
Thomas.
guys cut out. You guys cut out. I know it didn't work out for Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
That's what we're talking
That's
about.
kind of what we said, yeah.
I don't know, but we will we'll continue to follow along with that and see where we kind of end up with it. This week's Calf Talk Debate of the Week was inspired by a conversation we had at practice one of the last couple of days. Will Eli Manning, Matt Stafford, Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, and or Matt Ryan make the Hall of Fame? Joey, your immediate thoughts? All of them?
No. I had 2 yeses, 2 nos, and 1 kind of maybe, in my opinion. I think Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning are going to be Hall of Famers. I think it's hard to see a world in which those 2 are not. Eli Manning, the 2 Super Bowls, and he's a Manning. I think that's enough to get him over the hump into the Hall of Fame. I think Big Ben is the safest of all those options as well. I think Big Ben has won enough to be the best option of all of them. I think Stafford is the maybe. I would lean towards yes for Stafford. I think since he's still playing, though, you still have to kind of see what happens. Because, like, he could... If Stafford wins if the Rams won a Super Bowl this year, right, with Stafford, I think Stafford becomes a lock for the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. And then Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers, I said they will not be Hall of Famers.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Quinn?
I have them all
Go
getting
ahead.
in. I think it's a valuable conversation whether they all should, because they all stack up so well against the Hall of Famers of the past.
I do agree with that.
and so like all the counting stats look so good. And I think once like I think if you let Eli Manning in, it's because of the Super Bowls, because the other
Yeah.
guys have better like yards, touchdowns,
Yeah.
reception stats and that. So then you're gonna let Big Ben's getting in because he has both, and then I think Rivers is getting in, and I think it'll work out well enough for Matty Ice and Stafford. I think Matt Ryan might be the toughest one, but like looking, he had similar yardage numbers to those guys. He didn't quite have as many touchdowns. He had less interceptions, I think, than the other guys. He did play a little bit less games, but like on a per game rate, it was still a little less touchdowns, a little less interceptions. But we'll see. The one thing with Stafford is he only has 2 Pro Bowls, which is something that I know voters use a lot. So that'll be interesting. But winning the Super Bowl was big. If he puts together another couple years, maybe gets another Pro Bowl or two in there, I think he'll make it. I think they're all going to get in. I don't know. It's interesting too because for like Matt Ryan and Stafford, the quarterbacks from the previous area kind of bled over into theirs. So maybe that contributed to less of those like Pro Bowls and All Pros. But I think they're gonna get it. I think that this current like the guys that started in the mid 2000s will be like had a better just like collective era than the guys that started in like the early 2010s. But I think the later guys will still get it.
I think the only person that could not get in is, all right, the only person that I think shouldn't get in is Eli Manning.
I don't
yeah.
think he should get in. I don't think he should get in, but I think he's going to get in.
You can't go off just championships. And I don't care that he had that crazy game started streak.
Yeah, the other thing too is, go ahead. Sorry, I'm gonna look this up.
No.
Yeah, so he won Super Bowl 42. The score was 17-14. And then the next one was 20-17. Like he scored a total of 37 points to win 2 Super Bowls. Obviously winning a Super Bowl is very impressive. He got his team there, but it's not like he had these legendary performances. Like the helmet catch was a great play. He broke the sack. It was a good throw. The Manningham throw in the second Super Bowl was really good, but it's not like he was like the reason they won even really.
Yeah, I've been like slowly comparing all of their like stats, and the last one I had to pull up was Stafford, because I did just want to see the like Pro Bowl numbers. It's 2. It's
for
2
Stafford, yeah. I have it up.
For Stafford.
Which
I
is
feel
interesting.
Go ahead. No, you go.
Okay, well, I was going to say, like, I put down all these guys' stats and then the average Hall of Famer. And the average Hall of Famer had, like, 39,000 yards, 268 touchdowns, 200 picks, about 201 yards per game, 1.36 touchdowns per, and, like, about a pick per. And these guys all have, like, 60,000. Eli's at 57, Stafford's at 56, but he's going to get there. They all have at least, like, 350 touchdowns. Their picks are whatever. Like most of them, Stafford throws about the same as Rivers and Big Ben. They both throw like in the mid .8s for picks per game. Eli threw like 1, which is interesting because again, I don't think Eli, as far as his actual stats, stacks up like that. But like, yeah, they all threw more touchdowns, more yards than the average Hall of Famer, or less interceptions. Like just the level of quarterback play since like 2000, it's on another level compared to what it's been. So it's hard to judge the past and how well they were if it was just kind of the era that they played in.
Yeah.
The thing I was gonna say when it comes to like the whole winning aspect and who's like in the Hall of Fame right now, I know like statistically, these guys all look like they should be in the Hall of Fame based on like past quarterbacks who are in the Hall of Fame. I feel like at some point though, like with the era being the way it was and with the quarterbacks being like more stacked, I think there's going to be a higher like level to get in for some of these quarterbacks than of previous eras. So like I think when I look at a guy like Troy Aikman being in the Hall of Fame, right? Statistically, he's worse than most of these guys, but
it's just different in era.
Well, I understand that, but like the thing that like he's like still like I think the second lowest like overall statistically rated quarterback in the Hall of Fame, only above Jim Kelly. But like those guys won. I mean, I know Jim Kelly never won a Super Bowl. I know he went to four straight. He went to like four straight Super Bowls. Still, he didn't win any of them, but he still won at a high level. And then like Troy Aikman obviously won at a high level. So I think a guy like Eli Manning kind of fits the mold of the quarterback who might not be quite as good statistically, but is a winner and is iconic. As much as he might not be as good as Matt Ryan, I feel like he has those moments people care about who are Hall of Fame voters more so than a Matt Ryan. So I feel like that's what sets him apart. I feel like Big Ben is the most surefire because he has both the stats and the winning to be in there. I think Big Ben's a lock pretty much for the Hall of Fame in my opinion. But I think Manning is close enough statistically where his winning takes him into the lock category, and then Ryan and Rivers are kind of just on that bubble where they don't have the winning to push them over the edge into the kind of lock category because they're just going based off their stats because they never won anything of note in their careers.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think for Matt Ryan, the Super Bowl, do you think it just like kind of didn't affect it and it would have positively if he won, or is it actively going to hurt him? Like the fact that he had that good of a chance and then lost, do you think they're going to count that against him or just say he still made it, he won MVP?
I don't think it's going to hurt. What were even
I kind of
his
agree.
stats that day?
I mean, they were good. That was the thing. Well, they couldn't run the ball. Thinking about it was like...
Yeah. I feel like the issue... Go ahead.
I think they like took Freeman out because he couldn't block or whatever, and then Tevin Coleman couldn't run it or something like that. It wasn't really him. He took a bad sack, I know, but I don't think he turned it over. Maybe once, I don't know.
I feel like the issue. What was I about to say? I feel like with the voters, right? They're not gonna look at it as like, oh, he was so close and lost it, so that hurts him. They're gonna look at it more so as like he was so close to winning a Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like that'll be more like in his favor.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna be.
Someone will make an
much.
argument.
Yeah.
But I think if he won it, I would say he's a lock. He has an MVP, which like none of these guys do.
And an offensive player of the year.
1,000 or 2,000. Yeah, and he's like 1,000 or 2,000 yards behind Big Ben and Rivers. He's further behind, like I said, in touchdown. But he has way more yards like per game because he played less games and he had basically the same amount. I think he's. Yeah, I think if he won it, he would be a for sure lock. I think that for that reason, though, I think he still might get in. We'll see. It's interesting because, like I said, those guys kind of like bled into his era, so he wasn't making as many Pro Bowls and stuff early on. But I mean, since like in the quarterbacks that have been drafted like since I don't know like 2007 or whatever, it's like Rodgers and then maybe him and then probably Stafford. Andrew Luck, you could make the argument for, but it's not a thing. That's just a hypothetical.
Matt Ryan was 17 for 23 with 284 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a 144.1 rating from the game.
Yeah, so it won't be. Because he didn't even get the ball in overtime, right? Like the Patriots on the toss. Yeah.
He had 1 fumble.
Okay.
But we're letting fumbles decide Hall of Fame careers.
No, yeah. 100%. I'm with you.
Quinn, would you like to lead us into our Boyo of the Week?
I would love to. This week's Boyo of the Week, Jeremy Maclin.
Woohoo! The Mac Attack. Smiley, as he was called in his youth. Quinn, how do you remember Jeremy Maclin?
Just we were kind of talking about today. Just kind of an underrated, under the radar receiver. He had 1 Pro Bowl, I think, as a replacement, but he just was never really known as one of those like top guys. But just a very good receiver for quite a few years. He was pretty reliable for Nick Foles when he kind of came in with the Eagles, and then he made a couple of playoff appearances with the Chiefs. I figured too, since he played with the Ravens in his last year, since we got the Chiefs and Ravens tomorrow night, we'd get Jeremy Maclin, a Chief and a Raven, kind of get that mixture.
Joey, what do you think of when you hear the name Jeremy Maclin?
Yeah, let me set the stage for you real quick. It's the fall of 2014, right? And a young Joey Boreski is in a money fantasy league through his brother, because his brother, my Josh's best friend at the time, dad set up a fantasy league, and basically there's a bunch of family friends in it, and it was a solid buy-in, right? I think we won you could win $400 from it or something like that, which for an 8th grader, which I was at the time, a lot of money, right? And a young Joey Boreski is sitting there and obsessed with fantasy football, like looking every single day in class on the iPad we had at the time for school, who would pick up on the waiver wire and all that type of stuff, right? And on that fantasy team that went on to win my first of many fantasy football titles, Jeremy Maclin. And that was Jeremy Macklin's best year of his career, too. Jeremy Maclin was a beast that year.
Yeah.
And so I remember him on the Eagles being a really, really solid receiver. And personally, I remember him leading me to my first fantasy football title of many to come.
Yeah, he had 1,300 receiving yards that year. He was
I think he's on the
third
bench.
in Rookie of the Year voting, and he was second in Comeback Player of the Year voting that year. So a lot more productive of a career than I remembered until I went and looked up his stats. Quinn,
I have
your
some more.
second.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I have just some fun facts about Jeremy Maclin. Or really just kind of a documentation of his career. But 2007, he was at Missouri. He set the NCAA freshman all-purpose yards record, which I think still stands today. And then I believe the following year he had another good year, but Chase Daniel was a Heisman finalist for Missouri. He had 5 return touchdowns in college. In 2008, he led the NCAA in all-purpose yards. I have that thing about 2014, 85 catches, 39 yards, 10 touchdowns. He had 2,000-yard seasons. And then his playoff debut as a rookie in 2009 with Donovan McNabb. They lost to the Cowboys, but he had 7 catches for 146 yards and a touchdown. He's still the youngest player to score a touchdown in NFL postseason history. And then also, this is my favorite, in 2021, we had kind of talked about this, Topher. He became the head football coach at his hometown, Kirkwood High School in Missouri. Yeah. He has a 20-10-1 record. So that's pretty cool to have, a successful career, make all your money, and then go back to where you came from and help the kids there. That's really cool to me.
We did just talk about that the other day. Quinn, how do you feel about combined no-hitters?
They're cool, but they don't mean a ton. I think it's not as much of an accomplishment for 4 guys. Most pitchers do that anyway. Most relievers, it's not like an insane day if they come out and do that. So it's impressive. It's fun. I'm sure the team loves to celebrate it, but I don't think it's like a career milestone thing like that or anything.
The Cubs just threw a combined no-hitter.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah, Shota went 7, and then it was Pearson and Porter Hodge.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah, combined no-hitter.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. I saw at one point they had runners on, like the Pirates did. They had 2 guys on, so there must have been walks or errors. I did not know that. Yeah, it's cool. It's fun to celebrate as a fan, But,
yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't matter. And in 2021, we play the Dodgers not that long before the All-Star break. Zach Davies threw 6 no-hit innings, and then Andrew Chafin, Ryan Tepera, and Craig Kimbrell came in. Closed out a combined no-hitter, and then we lost 11 straight games going into the All-Star break, and traded Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, Javi Baez, Craig Kimbrell at the deadline. So that's kind of it's still joked about among Cubs fans that was the cursed no-hitter combined no-no that ended the season, but
let's hope it doesn't do the same. Let's hope it doesn't do the same thing here, right?
We'll see. Yeah.
Quinn,
but
it's
still just
No, continue.
It's just a funny graphic because it's Zach Davies, a nobody to most people, and he's got a no-hitter graphic because he went 6 innings. He walked 4 guys, or maybe even 6, and then all 3 relievers walked somebody, but they never gave up hits, so it was a combined no-hitter.
Yeah, this is you're the first returning guest. Do you have any final thoughts for us to close out today?
I mean, it's an incredible honor. I'm super grateful to be the first returning guest. I think we had a great time here, and I'm just amped for football now. I'm ready. One more
Ah,
sleep, and then
can't
I
wait.
mean, we got cross country too. Let's go Firebirds, and
Can't wait. Go
let's
Birds.
just have a year.
Joey, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, glad football is back, both college and this as of tomorrow, the NFL. Yeah, looking forward to the seasons of college football and college and NFL heating up, so we can kind of get in some more fun debates. We got some good stuff coming, and yeah, stay tuned for some big stuff we got in the works.
Yeah. Yeah. As this episode's gone on, I've gotten in a lot better mood, believe it or not. Um, Football starts up tomorrow, and the Red Sox are losing 8-3, which I think I can finally put the nail in the coffin on their season. Then, so um, we'll see you in 2025, and go Cowboys. See you guys next week.
See you. Fair